Good morning, good afternoon, and maybe if you're watching on the other side of the globe, or good evening to everyone. Usually I say good morning, LinkedIn family, but now we're broadcasting Coffee with Bob to Facebook, YouTube, as well as LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is always going to be my first love there. Today, I'm very excited to have yet again another independent film producer, writer, and making her directorial debut, Kerri Lynn Millier. We did this last week. We had the film Scrap, and it went very well. Kerri's got an amazing film that's coming out. She's even shared a trailer that I'm going to show you guys in just a minute. That makes it even more exciting. But please welcome Kerri Lynn Millier. Kerri, thank you for being on Coffee with Bob. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with everybody. Yay! I can't wait to talk about Awaken Her.
Cool. Yeah. So let's get a little background on you first, right? Because you've been in a bunch of TV shows and you've been in a couple movies, I think. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I went to school to be a doctor, and as one of my electives, I had to take a monologue course, and I just fell in love with acting. So after I graduated from college, my parents expected me to go on to Quinnipiac, where I was going to continue my education, but I kind of surprised everybody and said, no, I actually want to be an actor. And so I did my training in the city. And like I said, I just fell in love with it. And I've been in the industry for a little bit over 14 years now. And I've had really great opportunities to be on some pretty amazing TV shows and work with some great people. It's been wonderful.
Cool. Yeah. And what show, names of the shows you've been on? I know this already because you sent me your bio, and I think we might have posted it on the LinkedIn invitation, but.
Yeah. So most recently, I guest starred on FBI Most Wanted, and I starred opposite Julian McMahon, and that was just a great show to work on. I've worked with Jennifer Lopez on Shades of Blue. I've worked on Blue Bloods, Royal Pains, Odd Mom Out. And then I've also been in some films as well, and some of them that I've produced too. My most recent short film was Etymology, and that was great. What a really successful run at film festivals, and won a lot of great awards, and it was just a really great experience.
That's amazing. That really is cool. And now you're really branching off on your own with a film that you've not only written, produced, directing, and if I remember the trailer properly, you're actually starring in it as well.
Almost everything. I'm not going to star in it.
Oh, okay.
Jennifer Garner to star in it. But I do plan on playing a smaller role in it, but it will be my directorial debut, and I'm really excited. It's a female-driven psychological thriller, and it's set in the plastic surgery world. So it's about a woman who's psychologically damaged at an early age, and she hides her pain behind plastic surgery. And as she goes on in her life, she has a psychological kind of breakdown, and she starts to lose her grip on reality, and she heads down a really dangerous path of revenge, and in an effort to right the wrongs of her past.
Wow. Sounds cool. Sounds very cool. And at this point now, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to share the screen to show you all. Gotta give me a second to get this right. Make sure I share the right screen here. It's not telling me which screen I'm going to share. Oh, there we go. Let's see. I think it's going to be right here. And okay, good. We're starting to rock it here. Let me make sure I pull the right one up. Although I make it so big now that I can't. You have to help me. And do we see this?
I'm seeing blue right now.
All right, let's stop the sharing and let's find the right one. I've never used the screen share option on StreamYard, which is what we're using today. Originally, we wanted to try and download. Yeah, it's not letting me find it. Let's see. Let's try this one here. Okay. Yeah, see, that's what I'm afraid of. Hold on. How about now?
Yeah, there it is.
All right, here we go. Whoop.
You're a very beautiful young lady. Tell me more about yourself, and then I'll decide if I will invest in your company. I just want to make sure you're okay.
Get me out of here.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Yeah,
That's a great trailer show. Hopefully it showed up pretty good, and a lot of people will see this on the replay. So, all right, so give us the background on that scene.
Okay, so this is the inciting incident in the story. And this is kind of, for folks that don't know what that means, that's the moment that sets the story into motion. And one of the themes of our film is patriarchal foes and this abuse of power that happens. So our main character finds herself in a situation where she's trying to take her franchise, her business, and make it a franchise, and she needs investors. And she's in a very interesting situation where she's trying to promote her project and somebody's abusing their power and leveraging their ability to want to invest in this business, and her trying to navigate around that. And it ultimately, I don't want to give it away, but it ends up in a situation that causes a lot more. It's like ripping the Band-Aid off of a lot of her past traumas.
Mm-hmm.
That's what sets the story into motion.
Wow, cool. I'm excited to see this one. So talk to me a little bit about your writing process for this, because this is a movie that you've written as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think I'm going to start like at the beginning, like how this all happened. So about 8 years ago, I was pregnant with my son, and I wasn't able to go out on as many auditions. And it was around that time that I was also working in pharmaceutical sales, and I was selling Botox to plastic surgeons and dermatologists. Mm-hmm. So here I am sitting, and I have a lot of time on my hands, and I'm like, let me just see what's going on YouTube. And I turn on YouTube, and I see Brene Brown pops on, and she starts talking about shame. And it really resonated with me because for so much of my life, like as a young girl, I was very much ashamed of the way I looked. And particularly, I was ashamed of my nose. My dad's Italian. I had his Italian nose, and I didn't look necessarily like my brother or my sister. And I certainly couldn't find myself in any magazines the way I looked. So I developed this really deep sense of like self-loathing about myself. And I ended up having a nose job. And while I'm not against plastic surgery at all, I think that it's really important to understand like the whys behind why you do something. And I was doing it from a place of self-loathing. So I found it really interesting that even after I did this, then I felt ashamed for doing it, because it was like, God made you this way, and why would you want to change it, and all these things. So there was that. And now I'm working in the field of plastic surgery and selling Botox to people. And it was here that I got to talk to so many different women. And I realized that so many women equate the way that they look with their self-worth. And so I wasn't alone in that. And during this time, now that I'm home, I'm pregnant, I was like, I want to tell a story about these struggles that women have with regards to, society putting so much pressures on us to live up to certain expectations, and this idea that we're only as valuable as how thin we are or how we look. And even furthermore, like discussing how so many times it's usually linked to these traumatic experiences that happen when we're younger that cause us to have these stories in our mind that make us feel like this sense of unworthiness, and how powerful those stories and those moments can be in our lives that happen when we're like in our teens, and how it affects the rest of our lives. Mm-hmm. So here I am, I'm pregnant, I'm home, and I'm like, I'm going to teach myself how to write. So I took all the classes, the Robert McKee's, the Save the Cat. I got myself into a writers group where there was like Nichols fellows, so really talented writers in this group. And I got my butt handed to me over and over again because, I was an actor by trade, which gave me a lot of great tools for dialogue and creating emotion and stuff, but the structure and stuff I was still really learning. So this has really been like an 8-year process, a cathartic process, and also a process of bringing this story to life. But my ultimate goal is really to share a story that is empowering for women and that gives the message that, our self-worth belongs to us and only us and doesn't come from the outside. So I'm really passionate about telling this story because, it was a pain point of mine and it took me so long to get onto the other side of that.
Yeah, that's interesting, and it's really relevant, especially in this day and age, and especially with young women. I mean, I'm a father with a daughter who a young daughter. I mean, she's married and for a few years now, and everything like that. But I remember as a child, it was always a struggle for the girls on how they look and style and this and that and the other thing, and then we always sort of told our kids, that's not what's important. What's important is what's inside of you. So, I mean, I think that's still very relevant today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, two things are coming up for me. I mean, one, I was so just floored and excited by some of the investors that were coming in who were men and were telling me stories very similar to what you said, who, I have a daughter, she struggles with an eating disorder, and because friends told her she was this or that, and how hard that has been for her. And then, the second thing that just came up is you're right. It's like this idea of understanding that we are not our costumes, that we're like what's on the inside. And for me to get to the other side of that, I started doing a lot of meditation and stuff and started to really understand more of, who we are. And I think that's really important. And I love that message that you gave to your own daughter.
Yeah, I think it's important. And I don't know, Allison Hernandez, who's watching the broadcast now, just sent a message. Bringing women's stories into the world is so important. Thank you for your bravery and message, Kerri. And it's true. I think in film today, in general, there's still not enough women telling their stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if, when I grew up and probably when Allison grew up, every film that we watched was made by a man. Right. So, and even today, I think it's like 5 to 8% of the films we see are directed and told by men. So that's through how a man sees the world and how a man sees women in the world. So as women, when we're watching this, our subconscious mind is being programmed by what we see. And because that's what, when we are in those early stages of life, when we're shown these different films, it tells us how we're supposed to be in the world and who we are. So I think it's so important to tell stories about women and the struggles that we have and just how we see the world. And I think that's really exciting too, because there's so much opportunity in that and untold stories.
So how do you see it shifting? How do you see, what do you think needs to happen to have that shift a little bit more than it's even shifted now? I mean, to me, the shift towards women-centric stories, women-centric films has been very minor, in my opinion.
Yeah,
very minor. So how do you, as someone who's in it now, right, and in the filmmaking, that's what you do. You're a filmmaker now. How do you see that shifting, or how do you see what can we do to help that shift better happen faster?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great question, and thank you for asking me that, because when I think about that, I think about even what you're doing for me here. You are showcasing what I'm doing and you're introducing me to other contacts, right? And that's like the greatest thing that anybody can do for another human being, in my opinion. And I think when it comes to women, I know one of the biggest struggles is the access to capital. Like if you want to support a woman, the best thing you can do is, show up by giving your energy in the form of financial backing for women, because that's what we need. In order to tell our stories. And we're in a situation where we're breaking through those glass ceilings where men have traditionally held those powers of those really important seats that they've held that have been able to open the doors for a lot of men, right? And so now we're looking to have those doors open. So we need women who are, up there doing it, but also throwing the ladder back down and bringing us up. But most importantly, it's the financial backing, because that's where the true power comes, because when you back a woman, you allow her to tell the story. And I look at like folks like Reese Witherspoon with, Hello Sunshine. She's on the cover of Time magazine. And, she's doing it. She's getting so much attention because she's telling stories by women, and she's giving women, she's using her power to spotlight, women's stories, and to help women who normally wouldn't have the opportunity to share their stories. She's doing that. So we need more of that too.
Yeah. And that's amazing. And that's what I love about WeFunder. I just learned about WeFunder last week. Yeah. It's crowdfunding, but not really. So in typical crowdfunding, you're donating the money. But in this case, in WeFunder, you become an investor. So, all you out there that are watching this, that are thinking that I'd like to be a movie producer someday, now is your chance. Now is your chance to back Kerri here and help her get her story told. So that's what's really cool about WeFunder. How did you come about that, or how did you learn about that? And what do you think about it so far?
I love it, and for a lot of reasons, what you said is it kind of equals the playing field, right? Where traditionally it's like you need to have these big accredited investors to come in to help you support and finance your film. But this actually levels the playing field for investors who want to be a part of creating something bigger, who want to bring into the world like a socially impacting film that makes a difference and changes the narrative for women, right? And now you have the opportunity for as little as like $250 to come on board and to be a part of telling a story that you think is important to you. And that's big. That really changes the game, because it's giving the power back to everyday people that want to hear stories that relate to them. And a lot, 50% of the population is women. So a lot of those people are women who want to hear stories about women. And I'd like to think that men want to hear those stories too, because we've been watching men's stories, and I love men's stories too. So I think it's room for everybody to kind of come in and to support that. And I think WeFunder is a fantastic platform that really brings community together. So it's great.
Cool. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, if you want to be a producer, now's your chance. And here's the thing that I always say in every Coffee with Bobs that I do. I'm a big believer in one connection can change a life. And that's why I like to do these. That's why I like to do the Coffee with Bobs. That's why I like to do the Follow Fridays and introducing people around, because I would love to be that person who is that one connection that changes someone's life, or at least hooks you up with someone who can. Yeah. So from that perspective, and what you're telling in your story, I think is just so amazing. Not only is it exciting, right? I mean, I love psychological thrillers. Number one, that's the best movie to get. It's telling it. It's kind of bending the genre a little bit, and it's telling it from a woman's point of view, which is very unique.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I love psychological thrillers too, and it's they're the most exciting to me. And I think so we talked about that part of the story where the main character is hiding her pain behind plastic surgery and stuff. But the ironic part is that she works for a plastic surgery center. So she's in that business and selling the thing that she thinks is going to help women. But then as she's there and she starts to learn that her clients have similar pain points and different traumatic experiences that have triggered the reasoning for them to want to be there, she starts to exact vigilant justice and going back to the root of the cause to figure out what was that moment for you that changed everything, and then going back to that moment and really addressing it. So it's fun.
Yeah. And what I like about it is far too often when you see the sort of, like you say, the vigilant justice, right? When you see the female vigilant justice roles, it tends to be like, kind of trashy B-movie kind of stuff, which I think personally is sort of demeaning. And really doesn't forward any type of story that's beneficial to women, where what you're doing, I think, does very much, because it's looking deeply into what the root of the issue is.
Sure. Like those stereotypes, and really, going deeper and looking at like the themes of, yeah, there's anger around it, but there's also a personal rebirth and being able to, there's forgiveness is a big theme in this, because we all know that every time we reach outside of ourselves to try to fix something, it usually doesn't work. But you're watching this journey, but through that female perspective and what's actually happening and how they're feeling and how they come out on the other side of really embracing their dark side and their light side to be an authentic being.
Yeah. So this is probably a question you're not going to be able to answer at this point because you're still getting ready to do the production. But what are you thinking as far as a follow-up to this is concerned? Because I know this is going to be big for you.
Yeah, no, I'm already thinking about that for sure. I'm actually working right now to convert it into a TV series as well. Really? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. With all the streaming that's out there today, I mean, I'm sure you won't have a problem finding a home for it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody is so hungry for content right now because, the pandemic, everything's been put on pause, and, streaming services have really been hungry for content. So it's a really great time to make a film, and it's even better time, to have this timely messaging going on when you have things in the world that are happening that are so supporting a film like this.
Yeah. So what other topics are you hoping to explore?
So again, I think the personal forgiveness is a big thing. I think also looking at the anger perspective, because so many times women are taught that they just have to shove down this part of themselves, this anger, and be everything to everyone, right? Like women's role is, really being selfless and giving all the time. And what this is also exploring is, how do you take care of yourself? And how does that female rage come out when allowed to be expressed, but not in that trite way that you're talking about, where, it's in a deeper, more psychological way, like how this is affecting a person's overall psyche and how that anger plays into that. And I think that's really important for women to see, because me personally, having been through some traumatic experiences, like I think most women have, there's this suppressed rage that you have, and you're not really expected to really talk about it, and now it's becoming more comfortable to talk about it. But I think it's really important to understand that. And I think that's why films like Promising Young Women are doing so well, because you're really starting to get into the psyche of understanding what's happening from that female gaze and that perspective. And that's different and fresh and new. And it's not told, like how you were saying, some of the stuff that you see that's like that B movie, it's how like men will see what women are going through and like showcase them in that way. This is definitely a different perspective of that.
Yeah. That was an amazing movie too. I've watched it actually a couple of times.
Right.
I mean, the writing in that was just incredible. And if that's the direction that you're going to, and that you're going to explore further, I can see nothing but great things coming out of it.
Thank you. Yeah. When people, like Screencraft is like one of the most notable coverage places that you can send your script to. And they reviewed Awaken Her, and they gave us, very favorable in the top 10% of screenplays. But what they also talked about is some comps where they compared it to Promising Young Women meets like Black Swan meets a female version of the Joker. So wow. That's kind of where we're at, and like the tone and the vibe that we're trying to convey with this.
Very cool. Very cool. So now when do you anticipate being able to actually get this out there for everyone to absorb?
So that's a great question. So basically what we're doing, and what I love about WeFunder again, is it's very transparent. So if you go on to, WeFunder.com, Awaken Her, you can see our investor pitch deck, and in there you can see what our budget is and how it's lined out and everything is accounted for. So we are a low budget film, and we also have a diversity clause within there, because diversity is really important to me as well. And so we are just under $3 million, our film. And so with that, the cool thing is where you shoot, based in New York or New Jersey, we're shooting in both New York and New Jersey, there's these amazing tax credits that people give you for shooting there and employing their people, right? So the way we're targeting this in our strategy is we're using a lot of tax credits, which are just around $800,000. Plus, we're going to focus on getting A-list talent attached to this. You know, my dream is the Jennifer Garner. Yeah, and
I
I
think
think
she only does Disney movies these days, though.
I don't know. I mean, wouldn't it be a great opportunity for her to sink her teeth into
Yes.
something a little
Yeah.
media? And
Yeah.
she's a phenomenal actress. So, I
Mhm.
mean, she's like our top choice. But I think when you combine, you know, a really good script with that A-list talent and the timeliness of it, and you have a clear budget, that's like the recipe for success. So that's how everything is laid out on WeFunder. And we're hoping to shoot in July. And again, being really strategic of why we want to shoot in July is because with the pandemic putting everything on pause, those A-list celebrities have that time right now to commit to a project versus in October, November is when the projects they committed to prior to the pandemic are going to start ramping up. So it's really strategic from that standpoint. And that's what we're hoping to do is shoot in July and then hopefully have this out to the world in 2022.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm going to be looking forward to it in the end. Can't wait to come to the premiere party.
Yeah, we will be invited for sure.
So again, you know, Kerri Lynn Millier is that one connection that can change your life. I totally believe, I really do, based on everything that I've read about the movie before, and what I've seen in the trailer, and now meeting with you. We've been connected now for a very short time. You're amazing, and I think this is going to sort of change the trajectory of what's going on with women-centered films. I think you're going to be a leader in that direction. So thank you very much for being on Coffee with Bob. If you're not connected, if you're not following, if you're not engaging with Kerri, you have to. When we post the replay of this, you'll be tagged. Make sure you connect and follow with her, and get to wefunder.com/Awaken Her, and let's get her to her goal. Become an investor. I think you won't be sorry.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and there's a lot of fun perks too for our investors about like having like a walk-on role in the film, or you know, coming for a day on set, or having your project reviewed by our team. We wanted to have our line producer come join us too for live with Bob. But he's actually in Montana right now filming. So, but he's got a lot of great projects under his belt, and we bring over 25 years of experience to this arena. And so we're so grateful for you, Bob, having us on here, and for supporting women and standing behind us, because that means everything. And I have so much gratitude for you. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm very happy to have you on. And when we get closer to your premiere date, and when you get a full trailer going, because you've got Jennifer on board, we'll do this again, and we'll keep pressing. I will always be a supporter. So thank you very much. And thank you all for joining us, and look for the replay on the YouTube channel, look for the replay on LinkedIn. And hopefully we'll get this out to as many people as we can, so that we get the ball rolling.
Awesome.
All right. Great. Good luck, and hang in there. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.
Well, it takes a minute for it to go, but bye.